Moving on to Kristen Hunwinson. Hi, Kristen, and thank you always for your patronage. One of the great 2023 Dave Sim art patrons. I have multiple questions pertaining to Dave's creative processes. I really enjoyed the duo shade used on Cerebus throughout his entire run. It gave him a consistent gray textured tone. And you point out, I think you mean Zipatone, aka Letraset. Actually, Letratone. Letraset was with letters. How is this product applied? It appears to be perhaps a sticky sheet, specially cut around every Cerebus figure. Or was it ever just developer brushed onto a special type of paper board? No, that is duo shade, but I can't think of a duo shade Cerebus that I did. Even when I did duo shade in issue number 12, the Cerebuses were all still done with Letratone. I imagine it was a very tedious process, but it looked great. Do you still have any duo shade? I don't have the duo shade. I do have some Letratone. Had a bad experience with 30% Letratone back in the early 2000s that has made me very gun shy because the adhesive turned out not to be adhesive enough, even when you burnished it down, and hated to do that with any piece of artwork. Nobody is going to want to get a piece of artwork with a toned Cerebus on it that then starts peeling up around the sides. And as Sean Robinson discovered, remastering the artwork, the plastic shrinks. So that's another thing that you don't want for posterity. Better to have an albino Cerebus where that Cerebus is still going to look the way it looks now 100 years from now. Then, well, it's still Cerebus, but his tone has shrunk. It comes on a backing sheet, which is just like sort of like wax paper on one side and ordinary paper on the other, and it's a film. It's very, very thin, transparent film that you can see through, and the dots are printed on the one side. So what you do is you take an X-Acto knife and putting the Letratone sheet over the page, you can see the shape of Cerebus through the backing paper and through the very, very thin self-adhesive film, and you cut around it in a general shape, and then so that it's going to include all of Cerebus, and then you stick the X-Acto knife into the seam that you've just cut, and then carefully pull the Letratone off of the backing sheet. Move the backing sheet away, and then carefully place the tone on the Cerebus figure, and being very, very careful not to get any bubbles under there, because if you get bubbles under there and you try and smooth them down, sometimes you get a ripple, and now you've got a line through your Letratone, and you have to start over again. But once you do that, once you've got it on there, okay, it's now covering the figure. I've carefully placed it, and now I want to smooth it down, but not too heavily so that it's adhering and it's going to peel up the artwork when I have to peel it up, but firm enough so that it's sticking there, and I am now cutting out along Cerebus' ear and the curve on the bottom of the ear, the side of the face, around the mouth, around the snout, and with a sharp enough X-Acto knife so that it's cutting the tone, but it's not cutting into the artwork, because it's an inked Cerebus, and it's very easy to cut into the inking and now you've got a cut through your carefully inked Cerebus knot. So it's a real balancing act of it's got to be this heavy to make sure that it's doing this, not too heavy so that it's sticking too hard, cutting so that it's a very specific cut, and when you peel up the adhesive film, it's going to stay in place, but not so much that when you peel up the film itself, the part that you're cutting away, it doesn't peel up the artwork with it. So you want to talk about very tedious process? Yes, it's a very tedious process, and I'm pretty sure Gerhard and I both count ourselves very, very lucky that we will never have to do that again for the rest of our lives. Artistically, what do you believe is your greatest strength? I would say probably the storytelling, the transition from panel to panel, so that you're reading it, the story reads smoothly, as Kim Thompson said in the earliest review, like a skilled driver driving you through streets at a high rate of speed. That's just instinct. I don't think that's something that you can learn. You can, but mostly it's a matter of development. You either have that in your mind where you break things down into long shot, close up, wide panel, closing in, triptych, silent panel in the middle, breaking reality down into comic book panels. Self-critical weakness, just can't get the artwork sharp enough. I'm just not a sharp artist. And the more that I work on photorealism, looking at Alex Raymond magnified, Neil Adams magnified, Stan Drake magnified, Al Williamson magnified. The guys' work, their work is so crisp. How do you get that? How do you? I'm getting better at it, but boy, it's got to be under the magnifying lamp, and it's got to be filling in solid blacks almost to the edge, and then filling in with Hunt 102 pen nib so that I can get it as sharp as Dave Sim can get it, which is just dull, dull, dull compared to the real photorealist. And for those guys, it's a brush stroke. You do it smooth. Don't do it rough. Do it smooth. I'm just not a smooth guy. This is perhaps a long shot, but do you foresee any more tours, conventions in your future? No, definitely not. In terms of best uses of Grandpa's time in his late 60s, there's just way too much stuff that needs doing, and conventions, signings, tours, even if it was something here in town, even if it was something just getting driven to Toronto, that's just too much dead time. That's, an hour down to Toronto, and then, 40 minutes checking into the hotel, and then, over to the convention. It's hours are precious, minutes are precious, seconds are precious. I don't have anything that I would describe as downtime. I'm never going, okay, now what am I going to do? Everything is, this has to be done to try and keep me healthy. This has to be done in order to accomplish as many of the things that I have left to do, depending on how much time I have left to me. I'm sure I would enjoy a convention. I would enjoy a signing. but just bad use of the time. And that says, I must say no, Dave. And yeah, that's the bottom line on that one for multiple reasons. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Kristen Hundredson, and thank you, Kristen.